Welcome to episode 357, where I speak with my client Karen about her life-changing Ayurveda experience. From healing her lifelong allergies and coming off her inhalers and allergy meds to coming off birth control and having a symptom-free cycle. And we discuss lots more along the way, so please stay tuned. Hi there, I'm your host Colette, and on this podcast I will be sharing the teachings of Ayurveda, yoga, and holistic health practices. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend checking out the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. Thanks for listening, and now here's a new episode. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. Today I'm joined by my client Karen, who's very kindly agreed to come on the podcast and share her journey with Ayurveda. Karen, it's lovely to have you here and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure, and I know everyone loves these episodes to hear about Ayurveda in real life. So let's start, Karen, with telling the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yes, my name is Karen. I live in the Northeast. I'm currently living in Massachusetts. I work full-time in corporate, so I have that corporate life. I'm working remote right now, and on the side, I teach yoga, and I recently became an Ayurvedic health counselor, so I'm still very much learning and exploring Ayurveda as well.
Very exciting. Great. So you have those sister sciences in your life. And how did Ayurveda come into your life?
I have heard about Ayurveda, a few times throughout the years, and not necessarily knowing what the term meant until I went through yoga teacher training. And that's when I started learning a little bit more about Ayurveda, and it piqued my interest. And that's when I started exploring it and trying to dabble in it. And I wanted to learn more. So that I would say I really started learning about Ayurveda about 4 years ago.
Okay, great. So through your yoga studies, you came across Ayurveda.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And tell us about your journey with Ayurveda. I know, connected. It was April 2023, right?
Yes.
And it was through somebody in your class. Is that correct?
Yes. So I did 500 hours of yoga teacher training, and I wanted to continue exploring and learning more about Ayurveda. I've always been interested in health and wellness in general. And I have, personally struggled with some allergies and some other issues throughout the years that I have never been able to resolve through specialists and doctors. And when I started learning about Ayurveda, I was like, well, this is a perfect way to experiment on myself. Let's see if this is something that would help me and would benefit me. And that's when I ended up going to the Ayurvedic health coach and counselor programs. And even though we're learning and it's an in-depth science that is, an ancient science, and there's a lot to learn. And one of my fellow classmates had recommended working with you to help resolve some of the allergies that I was experiencing throughout the years that I have never been able to overcome with doctors, with medications. And that was when I first contacted you in 2023, and we did the cleanse, which was amazing. And honestly, that was the only thing that has really helped me with my allergies, where I do not have to take allergy medicine every day like I used to. And it has made such a difference throughout the seasons.
Oh, that's great to hear. And I know when we met then, allergies, as you say, was your main concern. And there was lots of mucus and congestion and sneezing, right? You were really having a hard time with these allergies. And as you said, you had this for years.
Yes, it was, throughout the years and nothing was resolving it. I had inhalers, I had nasal cleanses, I had allergy medication. I was seeing a lot of specialists and doctors, and there was never an answer of how to get to the root of it to resolve it versus just continuing to take medication to kind of keep it in check, if you will.
Right. And you being so into health and wellness, the last thing you wanted to do was be dependent on these medications, right, for the rest of your life.
Yes, correct. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your experience during the cleanse. Can you remember back to April 2023?
Yes, so I have done multiple cleanses now, and each one has been a little bit of a different experience. Doing the cleanse with you in 2023, that was the second cleanse I've done, and that was where I experienced the most powerful changes. And thankfully, you were there to root me on, and you were extremely patient with me, answered all my questions, especially when I was feeling that I may have, I may have had doubts or I wanted to give in to temptation. You were there to help me along the way, but I honestly ended up finding it very soothing overall. Once I was able to shift my mindset and realize what the long-term goal was of what I was trying to achieve, and remind myself and find that time and space away from social media and technology and screen time and TVs, and really learning how much that had an impact on maybe some of the things that I was feeling or craving. And it ultimately brought a lot of peace and quiet into my life that I didn't realize I needed.
Right. Until we strip those things back, we don't realize sometimes how activated our nervous system is and how stressed we are. And I think that can go for many of us in our modern world. We're just so used to this constant hum all the time and this constant addiction to our devices that we don't realize until we strip it back and we take some time out. And I know during that first cleanse, there was a lot more vata, right? And a lot more vata imbalances along with the allergies. And so by taking out the social media and bringing in some self-care, mindfulness practices, and particularly I remember there was sleep issues as well, that we brought in an evening routine, that's what's great, I think, about immersing yourself in the cleanse is you get to strip everything back, go to basics, and really feel yourself in balance physically and mentally, right?
Yes, definitely. Listening into my body, what it actually needs. It was an entirely new experience, and journaling out feelings, and it really did help me through a lot more than just my allergies and mucus and the items that I first thought I needed a cleanse for. It helped me through a lot more than just that.
Yeah, because you were going through some sad times then as well, back in April 23.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm glad that it helped you through all those emotions back then as well. And so after that cleanse, how was life after that? Were you able to keep up with those practices? How did you feel post cleanse? Besides from obviously the allergies being really pacified and so on.
Yes, post cleanse, I am going to make the leap and say that that cleanse was life changing for me, and maintaining a lot of what was taught to me throughout the cleanse that really brought peace and mindfulness and helped me find rest at night where I could sleep a really good night's sleep. So being very mindful of my previous habits that I didn't realize how they were impacting me overall, of my health and well-being, and trying to carry those through. So my entire routine shifted really. I went from being, if you had asked me before that cleanse if I was a morning person or night owl, I would be like, oh, night owl. I did not love the mornings. It was difficult for me to wake up. I was very groggy, like I would drag, I'd have brain fog all of that. And then after the cleanse, I would wake up like clockwork before my alarm clock, like by 6 a.m. And I was ready to go. And I was excited to see the sunrise and, get outside and noticing what shifted within me, what I was doing differently, learning how to eat to my dosha, like what my body needed, learning, throughout with the season changes, all of those changes that I was not mindful of before, how like carrying that through to continue to feel my best self, to continue on feeling really well.
Wonderful. That's just music to my ears. I love supporting people through the process of the cleanse, and then that you go forward and you've learned so much about yourself and you feel empowered to take care of yourself. I love that. It's so wonderful to hear. I'm going to jump in here because I want to tell you about my next group discounted Digestive Reset Cleanse, which is starting October 4th. Now, even though this is a group cleanse, we go through it in a private community to support each other and hold each other accountable. It is individualized. It's tailored to you because it comes with a 90-minute online consultation where you and I will hop on Zoom and I will check in on your current health status and tailor the cleanse, the recipes, the self-care, the mindfulness to you and your lifestyle, making sure that it fits in to your day-to-day life without causing extra stress or overwhelm. This cleanse will help you eliminate any accumulation of toxins or doshas at the end of the season. It will also help to reset the digestive system, aiding digestion and elimination, and calm the nervous system with the wonderful mindfulness practices that we bring in. Help to improve your sleep and your energy and rejuvenate your body and leave you feeling light and clear and energetic. So if you're interested in taking part in this group cleanse starting October 4th, then check out all the details and register on my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and go to the events page for this group discounted cleanse. And make sure that you book your 90-minute consultation before the start date of October 4th. Now, if that date doesn't work for your schedule, you can choose a private cleanse, which is the same structure, but you get to choose your own dates and you have me one-to-one for support. I will also put those links in the show notes, and I hope to connect with you soon. Then you reached out again in July, just this past July of this year, and tell us a little bit about the thought process going into this cleanse and so on.
Yes. So I recently reached out again for just to see what you would recommend as the best course of action was. I was on birth control for, since I was 15. So a very, very long time. And I recently took a course in Ayurvedic and women's health and was learning all about how our system works. And I've been more concerned with perimenopause and menopause coming up in my life and how Ayurveda could help with those symptoms that we often experience. And as I was learning, I was like, okay, this is my time. I've thought about going off birth control for years, but this is the time to actually do it. And I think what kept me on it for so long was it kept, in my mind, it kept me regular. It was predictable. And I know I have heard from doctors and others that going off of it could take a year or longer to really get your body in its own natural rhythm. But when I was learning through my class in Ayurveda was that it really doesn't have to be a year. If you're taking care of your body and you could use Ayurveda to get your body into its natural rhythm naturally and in its own time, as you start to eliminate those hormones that your body is used to getting synthetically. And that's where I reached out to you to learn what your recommendation was to go through that process. And the cleanse really helped. The 3-week cleanse within that time frame, I was in a natural rhythm already. The blood was bright red as it was supposed to be. I had no symptoms. I had no, even while I was on the pill, I I had PMS symptoms. I felt like exhausted and bloating and all the symptoms that you would associate with you know, with getting your period. I experienced none of that. And it was, again, it was just like a huge surprise. I learned that that could happen, but I didn't really believe it until, you know, until I experienced it myself.
Yeah, and it was so wonderful to support you. And thank you for sharing that and being so open about it, because I'm finding a lot of people now are coming off birth control and going through this cleanse. It was great timing for you, particularly because we noticed you had more pitta this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that could, of course, we know pitta, when aggravated, can cause menstrual problems or can cause more intense premenstrual tension and syndrome. And so by going through the cleanse and again, tailoring it to your needs now, we were able to balance the hormones naturally. And of course, by resetting the digestive system, the microbiome, and balancing the hormones, it means that that transition into your new cycle, new natural cycle, was very smooth, and your body regulated very quickly and adapted very smoothly because you were giving it a holistic experience during that time. And also you were supporting it so well, not only with good food, but with self-care practices, getting good sleep, physically, mentally, emotionally, pacifying your body and mind so that you could give your body the best foundation with which to transition and release any synthetic hormones and switch to a more natural cycle. So that was just wonderful to support you through that. And how are you feeling now? That was July. Now here we are, the end of August.
Yes, I feel great. I had another cycle and it was same exact thing, no symptoms, no cramping, nothing like that. And I feel really great. For the first time, I feel like I'm finally getting back to myself. After all these years, I feel like I'm finally getting in tune with myself fully and completely and really listening to myself and my body and what it needs.
Doesn't that feel so good? When
It's
you feel like you're really in tune with your body, and now you can monitor your monthly cycle and know that what you're feeling, experiencing, and seeing is natural. And these are monthly report cards of our health. So now you can really check in and be very aware of your cycle and the symptoms, if you get any, or the color of the blood, the amount of blood, and so on. And that is a report card on your health. And it's wonderful, isn't it, to have that connection?
It really is. It really is.
Wonderful. So Karen, tell us now about your life now and how you mentioned earlier how your first cleanse really was life-changing, and how Ayurveda and yoga, for that matter, because you have your yoga teacher training as well, how it has impacted your life.
It has made me extremely more in touch with myself. I have found that in the past, I really did believe and live by the mantra, work hard, play hard. And
Ah.
how that has not really been the best for myself. I feel throughout the years, I have pushed my body and myself maybe more than I should have. I've always been interested in health and nutrition, and I probably have tried every single diet under the sun and never had the results that I wanted. Maybe they were very short term, but I never felt well. I really didn't feel good when it came down to it. If I stopped and took a moment, which of course with work hard, play hard, I really didn't give myself a moment, to really listen into myself. So when I say that Ayurveda has been life-changing for me, I think overall just learning how to stay in tune, not only with myself and my body, but with nature and how nature provides, and learning about the different seasons and, how your body changes throughout the year and what it needs throughout the year, and what it craves throughout the year and why it craves those things. Listening, taking the time and the space to really listen to the body has been amazing. That is what's been life-changing. And for yoga, for me, I'm new. I'm new to yoga. I'm new to Ayurveda. In the past, I was definitely more of a boot camp person or CrossFit, like the go hard, go all in. And I was pushing my body a lot. And when I would do yoga, it was more of like, oh, this is just like a stretchy class. And also I wasn't good. I'm not great at yoga. Like, even though I'm an instructor, like, I do not have a flexible body. So I never really thought I belonged in yoga. But I think once I took a class, and I was going through a very hard time, and I ended up taking one yoga class, and that's when I had a breakthrough. I actually started crying on the mat. Something happened to me in that class where it just kind of, the breathing and the instructor really made an impact to me. And that's where I was like, okay, there's something more to yoga than I had given it credit for. And that's when I went to yoga teacher training. I wanted to learn more about it. I didn't necessarily want to teach. I just wanted to know more about it, and learning about the breathing, how I could manage my stress myself through breathing, how I could manage anxiety and other things that I was feeling. But throughout that journey of learning the different poses and breathing exercises has been extremely beneficial for me, and has really shaped where I am today in life, and how I could do a lot of this myself when I notice it creeping up where I didn't previously know in the past.
That's it. It's learning how to take care of yourself. Absolutely. And you have this toolkit now of all these things to help pacify the body and mind. And I think it resonates with us so, so much, because it's how life used to be. We used to be able to heal ourselves. We used to have that really extreme connection to nature and live in the cycles of nature. So going back to that feels like going home. And I think that's why it feels so good. It feels so logical and easy, and it feels right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, do you wish to continue to study?
I do. I wish to continue to study. I am, extremely interested. I have found it so helpful for myself that I just want to keep learning and growing in the area. And I would eventually love to start helping others as well.
Wonderful. That's great to hear. And so as we finish up here, Karen, if there's anything else you want to share, but also if you have any advice or tips for the listeners out there, I'd love to hear it.
Advice and tips, I would say go at your own pace. It could be extremely overwhelming. I remember when I very first started learning about it through yoga, and I wanted to do everything all at once, but I didn't really know what those things were that were helpful for me. So I think it's really taking your time, experimenting and trying one thing. Don't try to do everything, just try a few things. Whether it's drinking the warm water in the morning, or starting to eliminate ice cold water, doing one thing at a time so it's not so overwhelming for you, and feeling how it is within you and your body. So don't try to do everything and get completely overwhelmed and then abandon it.
Very good advice there, because it is so much knowledge, and it can really feel, like you said, overwhelming at first, but as well, taking it step by step, as you're saying, and also integrating it gradually into your life and seeing then the shifts in your body and mind can really encourage you then to go forward. But doing a little at a time makes it sustainable and makes sure that you're not going to get overwhelmed and go, too much.
Yes, exactly.
We have a lot on our plate nowadays, but making time for your health and well-being should be a priority, right? Without our health and well-being, without good sleep, good digestion, good elimination, clarity of mind, everything else is just a struggle. So that should be our priority, to have that good foundation of health, and it makes life just flow more easily.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Well, Karen, it has been an absolute pleasure catching up with you. And again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Okay, take good care of yourself, and bye for now. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Karen. And don't forget, I have that upcoming discounted group, Digestive Reset Cleanse, starting October 4th. So if you want your own tailored Ayurvedic cleanse experience, please check out all those details in the show notes, or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And for the group cleanse starting October 4th, go to the events page. And if that date doesn't work for you, you can choose a private cleanse. It's the same cleanse, same structure, but you just get to choose your own dates, and you have me one-to-one for support. You'll find the private cleanse under programs. If you haven't already subscribed or followed the podcast, please do so, and the new episodes will automatically download for you. And if you would like to leave a rating and review, I would really appreciate that. It would help others to find this amazing wisdom of Ayurveda. You can also follow me on social media. On Facebook, it's Elements Healing and Wellbeing. And on Instagram, my new page is Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take good care of yourself. Be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.